Hey everyone, with patch 6.3 dropping in about a week, I'd like to go over one of my favorite gil farming methods that not too many people know about. This method is a bit different from most and isn't the most accessible as you need to level and develop your blue mage, but once you have those spells, you can do this every day with no need for food, crystals, or anything else. Before we go over the spells, I want to go over the general idea of the method and explain how it works so you can decide if you even want to go through the work of getting all the spells, as of course there is a drawback to using this method. I'll explain the general gist of the method first, as the drawback won't make much sense without it. What we will be doing is entering the vault with the options undersized party and level sync checked. Yep, synced. What this allows us to do is spawn in, kill the first 4 packs of trash before the boss. However, since we are synced, we will be getting gil for each of the mobs that we kill. We then abandon the instance, rinse and repeat. It's fairly simple. However, something I didn't know before I started using this method is that 14 has an anti-bot measure that will cap you at 100 instances per day, resetting at the same time your roulettes refresh in the morning. There's no risk of an account ban or anything for hitting this, however you will not be able to enter any more instance content until the daily reset occurs. Runs using this method average about 1 minute and 15 seconds, so to hit this you will have to be doing this method for about 2 hours straight. I usually do this towards the end of my night when I don't have any plans to enter any more instance content and haven't really had any issues. However, this is something I would feel bad not informing you of. So with that 1 minute and 15 seconds, let's see how much gil each run rewards us and extrapolate that out. There's some slight RNG with gil rolls on each mob, however the low end of each run is 5,500 gil, and the top end being 6,000. If we extrapolate out from the low end with our 100 instance cap, that allows us to farm 550,000 gil each day using this method and in just over 2 hours. So let's go over the required spells. I was able to get all of these spells and begin using this method in less than 2 days, and I had none of them before starting. So let's get into it. This is a reminder that for instanced content, spells are a guaranteed learn if you run the content level synced in a full party. Even if you are level synced, if you have undersized party turned on, it will be RNG if you will learn the spell. Also remember that not all players in the party must be using a blue mage for you to learn the spell. First, let's go over our utility abilities, as these allow us to survive while using this method. First up is Mighty Guard. Mighty Guard reduces our damage taken by 40%, while reducing our damage dealt by 40%. This ability is acquired from the Wayward Gaheel Jaw. You will need to do the blue quest chain for him to appear. You can buy the spell from him after learning 10 blue mage spells. Next up is Basic Instinct. This spell increases our movement speed by 30%, while also increasing healing magic potency and damage dealt by 100%. It also ignores the damage penalty inflicted by Mighty Guard. This spell can be obtained from the Master Curl in Upper Lenosha at X9, Y21. Our last utility spell is Etheric Mimicry. This spell allows us to copy attributes from other players based on the job they have selected. The one we are after is DPS, which will increase our critical hit rate and direct hit rate by 20%. This one could be considered optional, but it's very nice to have as packs do die faster and saves you from casting something for the last 2% of a mob's health. This spell is acquired from the Gra Luminary in Pharaoh Sirius Hard. The boss will summon a monster called Corruption. Killing the Corruption is enough to obtain Etheric Mimicry. Now let's go over our offensive spells. There are a few basic spells in here, but most of our large damage will be coming from primal spells. Our first basic spell is Mind Blast. This is an AoE spell with a potency of 200 for the first enemy hit and 50% less for all remaining enemies. We have another AoE that is required, however to finish off packs with very low health, this has half the cast time. While I wouldn't consider it required, if you want to do time optimizations I would use this. This spell can be acquired from Galvanth the Dominator in the Tamtara Deepcroft. There are other learn methods, however this one is guaranteed even if you are not level synced, as it is part of the blue class quests. Next up is the Ram's Voice. This spell is our bread and butter as it freezes enemies for 12 seconds. It is an AoE spell with 220 potency for the first enemy hit and 50% for the rest. This will be a large portion of our damage while our large hits are on cooldown. The easiest acquisition is from the Chimera in the level 50 trial or Relic Reborn, the Chimera. If you haven't done any of the ARR relics to unlock this trial, the next best option is the final boss of Cutter's Cry. Going along with the Ram's Voice, we have Ultra Vibration. This will immediately KO all enemies affected by the deep freeze of the Ram's Voice. This can be obtained from Kongmato in the peaks at X13, Y26. Our last 4 are primal spells. These are likely the hardest to get and may require you opening a party finder. I will go over the easiest ones first, with the first spell being Eruption. This is an OGCD ability that deals fire damage with a potency of 300 to all enemies in a designated location. You will need to use the ability and then place the zone. This can be acquired from Ifrit in any difficulty of the Bowl of Embers. There's currently a debate that running these on a higher difficulty will increase your RNG when doing it unsynced. However, any evidence is only anecdotal and cannot be confirmed. My recommendation is to do it on the lowest difficulty, simply to speed up the fight. The same goes for our next ability, Shock Strike. This is another OGCD ability which deals lightning damage with a potency of 400 to the target you have selected, and 50% less for all remaining enemies. This ability can be learned from either of Ramuh's difficulties. Our next spell, Phantom Flurry, is optional, however it speeds up the time to kill one pack by about 8 seconds. The alternative is casting 5 more Ram's Voices to finish it off. Should you opt to use it, Phantom Flurry deals unaspected damage over time with a potency of 200 to all enemies in a cone before you. Activating the spell again before it expires will deal a finisher to all enemies in a cone in front of you with a potency of 600 to the first enemy and 50% for all remaining enemies. This spell can be acquired from Suzaku and Hell's Kier. You will likely need a party finder for this one, as it's a level 70 trial and cannot be soloed. Our final spell is the one I struggled the most to get. This will be J-Kick. J-Kick is a gap closer that delivers a jumping attack with a potency of 300 to the enemy you have targeted and 50% to all remaining enemies. This spell can be learned from Brute Justice in the Burden of the Sun, and again will require a party finder. Now that we've gone over all of our spells, let's see what one of these runs will look like. Before entering the instance, we will pop Mighty Guard and find a DPS to steal their essence from. We will then enter the instance and immediately pop Basic Instinct. This will need to be done each run as it is removed once we leave the instance due to level sync. We will then approach the first pack and use J-Kick on the Vault Ostiary, immediately followed by a Ram's Voice, Shock Strike, and Eruption. Then use Ram's Voice and Mind Blast to finish off the pack. I like to pop Sprint after this pack as we head to the next, however you may find a better place to use it. For the next pack, we will run straight into them and hit them all with a Ram's Voice. We will then use Swift Cast and Ultra Vibration. This will KO the entire pack and allow us to advance to the next. For this pack, you want to run past the weak enemies and stand right in front of the Vault Deacon. You will then use Ram's Voice. Due to their pathing, you may miss 1 or 2 of the mobs, but this isn't a huge deal. You will then run behind the Vault Deacon and use Phantom Flurry and its finisher to kill the pack. If you skip Phantom Flurry, use Ram's Voice until the pack is dead. For the final pack, the Vault Ostiary is again the strong enemy of the pack. Target them so your Shock Strike will deal its large hit to them. Use Ram's Voice in your primal abilities as they come off cooldown to finish off the pack. Wait for all the gil to drop. I usually just count to 2 after the Ostiary dies, and then leave the instance. Well guys, that's the guide. I definitely underestimated how much work this was when I started recording it, but yeah, this is my first ever piece of content, so it feels good to be done with it. I'm proud of it. I think it looks pretty good, so if you have any questions, leave them down below. If you have any feedback on my editing style or things I could improve to show things better, let me know. But yeah, thanks for sticking around if you made it this far, and have a nice day.